Okay, let's try this again. This is round two of some live stream testing software that I'm using, and there's a lot of moving parts. And currently, I'm using my podcasting microphone that I have here, the Heil PR40, and I'm staying a good ways away from the mic because I'm in a small space, although you wouldn't be able to recognize it at this point, but um, it is relatively small. Those of you that know where I live, I'm in my office area, and it's just there's not a lot of room, and there's several pieces of things going on here in this room. I've got in front of me, even though you don't see this, there's a desk directly in front of me, and then I have another piece of equipment in front of me here with a tripod and a webcam on it that I'm using to broadcast with. Over to my right is a lot of my setup with my mixer and my computer and my other pieces of technology. And so there's quite a bit of stuff going on, and I'm just trying to get a feel for, and even the way that I'm looking in the other direction where my monitor's at, which is kind of at an angle. That's why my eyes are looking in that direction, just so I can kind of see the output of the video. But I'm going to start to try to focus where I look directly at the camera, and when I do, you can actually see my eyes move in that direction. So again, this is just a test, and I'm seeing how this microphone is going to work. I really don't have this perfected yet. I'm just seeing if these different pieces work. My mics work pretty well. The graphic. Oops, it's kind of hard to do this. The graphic. Yeah, here we go. Nope, over here. It's kind of hard to point to it because you're seeing it one way and it's being live streamed another. The graphics and then the lighting obviously is going to be the most important piece. And behind me, I've got the green screen, but I've replaced it with the Passionate for His Purpose homepage image that's behind me, which is really cool. I love the green screen capability. And here in just a moment, I'm going to show you how I can actually switch out different backgrounds here. Now, if I wanted to, I could actually play a looping video in the background. It doesn't just have to be a still image. It could be any number of things. I think somebody just joined me. So if you just joined live, let me know in the chat. Okay, whoever it was just hopped on and then back off for a minute. Although I do see one thumbs up. I'm not sure who that was. Okay, there's another thumbs up. Thank you very much. Just doing some live stream testing with some really powerful software that if you have a Mac, it gives you the capability of being able to live stream and set up all different types of scenes. So in just a moment, whoever you are, whoever's with me here, I'm gonna go over to my computer, and I'm going to switch scenes here, and I want you to let me know what it looks like on your end if you don't mind. I really appreciate it. Give me just a second. I'll be right back. Okay, so I did that. That was actually a motion graphic file that I was working on yesterday. Obviously, I need to add some other components to it, but how did that come across as far as the motion aspect of it? Was it good, not so good? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a like if it was good, if you don't mind. Let's see. Okay, let's try another one while I wait. This is another one that I just did yesterday as well. I'm probably going to use this one for the what I call the logo introduction. I really like the colors. I like the, and I'm going to be adding some music to it as well. But for now, just wanted to get it kind of ready. And so anyway, that's some of the graphics that are there. I'm going to go ahead and go back over here and fade back into the main screen. So here we go. And I'm really enjoying how this software really works. And probably down the road, I will include. Just got a message here. Hang on. Let's see. Okay. I don't know why that would say that, but. Anywho, okay. Sorry about that. I had a message that was coming up saying that I didn't have a fast enough internet connection for this to work like this, but I definitely have that. I don't know if I have some kind of intermittent issue or not. But anyway, this is really cool. I mean, the software that I'm using here, where I can switch back and forth, it's strictly made for the iMac or the MacBook Pro or something like that. So this particular software is not used for PCs, but it's strictly just for a Mac. And I know there's other softwares that could be used for PCs, but this is called ECAM Live. And if you do a search on the internet for that, you will find that it is available. Currently, they're offering it on a subscription basis. I got kind of grandfathered in when I purchased it, and believe it or not, what you're seeing in front of you, it was less than $40 for me to purchase this broadcasting software, which is really, it gives you the ability to switch. It's like a switcher. So if I've got one camera set up right now, actually one webcam, but I've been experimenting with having two webcams, one to my right, one to my left. It gives you the ability to switch back and forth seamlessly, as well as integrating some of these graphics in, and they actually have transitions to them. It makes it really look really nice. And I'm very pleased with this, and I'm hoping to be able to develop some other teachings and some other trainings, being able to use this green screen capability in live broadcast to come. So I will mention another thing real quickly is there's another platform or software you can use for a PC if you want to do something like this, and it's very robust. It's actually open source software, and it's free, and it's called OBS. And OBS stands for Open Broadcasting Software. So if you do a Google search for OBS, you will find that you can download this on a Mac, PC, or a Linux operating system, which is really cool. And I've got OBS installed on a PC directly in front of me. I have it installed on my iMac to my right here, and I have been exploring utilizing. It's very similar like ECAM, but it might have a few other things that ECAM can't do. But for simplicity and ease of use, ECAM Live is absolutely incredible. And I'm streaming live on Facebook right now, but I'm not on Facebook. I'm inside ECAM Live software. So when I'm done, it'll automatically post it to whatever page I tell it, as well as I can tell it to upload this directly to my YouTube channel, which I did last night. And that's another cool thing. It can also add things to Twitter and Periscope. So a lot of the social media platforms, you can set up your profiles in ECAM Live, and just by clicking a button, I went live. I did not have to go inside Facebook to be able to do this, but it's really, really cool, and I love the product, and I love the ability to be able to bring in graphics and overlays. Let me go ahead and I'm going to switch one of my graphics out here, the logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and I'm going to bring in my lower third so you can kind of see what that looks like. So give me just a second. Second, I'm trying to find it. Here we go. Okay, there's that. And then I'm going to bring in this. And normally I would have all this already keyed up, but for the sake of what we're doing here, I'm just going to remove that. And then I'm going to bring the logo over here. See, I can do this live. Which is really, really amazing that you can even do this way. And then I'm going to bring this up here. And there we go. So how cool is that? I mean, that is live. And you'll notice when I step away, you may see some little flickers of light and stuff like that. And what that is that's the green screen that's behind me. It removes green, but sometimes it's not. If the camera is a little bit too far away from the green screen, it won't totally remove it. So that's what that is. But when I came back and I sat down in the chair, it became a lot clearer picture. And so that's pretty cool too. You can do a lot of this stuff on the fly, which I really, really love. Now, I'm going to come over here in just a second, and I'm going to change the name that you see on there from Learn to Discern to something that I want to share with you, a word from the Lord that I spoke this morning over the people I affiliate with, but I think it's very relevant, and I want to share that with you live here. Give me just a moment. And so I've got my keyboard over here too. I'm gonna type this live here. Give me just a minute. Make sure I got that spelled correctly. And that's just one of these setups that I'm gonna have to work on. As far as my office space, I'm very limited with what I have with my office space. So this morning. Actually, over the last couple of days, I've been reading a lot about about Samuel, Saul, and David. And the Lord has really been highlighting a phrase as I've been reading through the first book of Samuel. I think maybe last week or the week before that, I shared something about the life of Samuel and a lot of different things about him. And that's on my Facebook page, and you can go back and watch that if you choose to. But as I've continued to read about Saul and David, Saul was chosen by God with a specific purpose. Now, we tend to want to focus on a lot of the negative things that happen in the life of Saul, but and it's true, he made some mistakes. He's human. He's just like you and I. And but somewhere along the way, God said, okay, I've departed from Saul, and now I'm going to set up a David to be my king, or to fulfill a specific purpose at this specific time. So as I continued reading about the different interactions that David had with Saul, I kept coming across this phrase, inquiring of the Lord. It seemed like every time I would be reading through chapter after chapter, when I got to this phrase, my spirit really latched onto this, and I was like, okay, I know the Lord is trying to tell me something further. I took notice of it, but just kind of pondered it away in the back of my mind. And this morning, during our transition time at church, one of my close friends, Monica Terrell, asked me if I would do the transition from the worship time into the leading up to the message. And I said, sure. And so as I was worshiping the Lord and really kind of meditating about what I was to share, he kept reminding me of this concept of inquiring of the Lord. And so I had my phone, like I've got right here. Cell phones can be a great thing. So I pulled my Bible app up in it. And so I pulled up a couple of passages that spoke of this. And I want to read from 1 Samuel chapter 23, beginning in verse 1. It says, Then they told David, saying, Behold, the Philistines fight against Keilah, and they rob the threshing floors. Therefore David inquired of the Lord, there's that phrase, saying, Shall I go and smite these Philistines? And the Lord, or Yahweh, said unto David, Go and smite the Philistines and save Keilah. And David's men said unto him, Behold, we be afraid here in Judah. How much more then if we come to Keilah against the armies of the Philistines? And verse 4 says, Then David inquired of Yahweh yet again. And Yahweh answered him and said, Arise, go down to Keilah, for I will deliver the Philistines into thine hand. And so I begin to look at that word inquired, and it's the Hebrew word sha'al. And it's where we get the term where somebody is spoken of as having a shawl. It's like a mantle. It's like a robe. And so it means, in the Hebrew language, it means to be able to ask someone for something or of something. And who is he asking this of in this particular verse here? It says he's asking, or he's operating in this sha'al manner, and he's directing it to Yahweh. And if you've heard anything from me before, anybody that I'm affiliated with, the Hebrew name Yahweh always focuses on the eternal plan of God. And so when David is spoken of as inquiring of the Lord, at this precise moment, he's saying, I'm asking something that I know is in alignment with the eternal plan of Yahweh. And so he goes before Yahweh and he says, shall I go and go after these individuals, and shall I enter into this situation? I'm trying to make this applicable to us. So many times we read it and we go, oh, I'm not facing any armies of Philistines. You might not be facing Philistines, but you might be facing another type of steen in this life that's very challenging, very difficult, seems to be insurmountable, might seem to be mountainous. It might be a humongous barrier. Those are things that apply to us. And it's during those times that we need to sha'al, and that word is very relational. It's an intimate type of thing, and it speaks of our relationship with God. And when we can enter into this with Him, and we ask in accordance to what's in His eternal plan, like David did, then we wait on the directive. And you'll see David, there was an immediate response from Yahweh, because it says when he asked, shall we go up? Immediately the scripture said, and Yahweh answered him and said, arise, go down to this place and do this thing, because I will bring a point of great deliverance. And not only that, but I'm gonna bring things into proper alignment. I'm going to do things that seem to be impossible with man or impossible with David. So this phrase, I really believe, is something that we as saints and as people that are at the forefront of what God's doing, we need to know that whenever we begin to speak in this manner to God or Yahweh concerning His eternal plan, immediate responses and results and solutions are being released from Him to us. We just need to be ready to hear what he says and quickly obey. And that should make a lot of sense to you. It sure does for me. And so that's one passage. Now, what's interesting about this is if you study this phrasing here, David does this in several other occasions. And I'm going to read another one in 1 Samuel 30, verse 8. And it says this, "And David inquired at the Lord, or of Yahweh, saying, Shall I pursue after this troop? And then he says, Shall I overtake them?" So David had two questions that he was asking or sha'aing to Yahweh about the eternal plan. And there's a waiting period. When he said that, there's this time frame. I don't know how long it was. It seems to be like it was immediate, but the scripture says, "And he," referring to Yahweh, "answered him, Pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover all." That's a powerful word. So when Yahweh says pursue, that's what we do. And that rhymed. I didn't plan on that, but it's paramount for us to really learn to obey the Lord in this manner when he speaks. And notice, when he speaks, not when we speak, or not when we think in our mind, I think God said this. No. We need to know when he speaks, and whatever he says to do, we pursue. And that's what he promised David. Now, what do you think would have happened if David said, "You know what? I don't think I want to pursue. I think I'm just going to lay back. I'm not going to go forward. I'm not going to..." Then there would have been utter destruction, right? But it would have been whose fault? Would have been David's fault? Absolutely, because God was giving him directives and saying, he gave him one word initially, right? He said, pursue. And then he said, you're going to overcome, and there's going to be a recovery of all those things in the midst of that. And I think that's really, really powerful. Now, does God always say, or Yahweh, does he always say, pursue or overtake? Well, not necessarily, because in some cases when you read this, David would inquire, and I'm trying to bring up that verse here. Give me just a second here. Trying to pull it up on the fly. There's another instance here, and I'm not getting to it quickly enough, and I don't want to wait too much longer, but there is an instance in here where David inquires of the Lord, and he asked if he was supposed to go up, and God said, "No, don't go up. Don't go up, because if you do, it's not going to be good for you." And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's what it really means. And so what's a lesson from that? We cannot always expect God to say, when we approach him with our questions, where we're inquiring based off of our relationship, the asking in this, we can't always expect him to give us the answer to go or pursue, because sometimes he's going to say, "Nope, don't do that, because if you do, you're going to be destroyed." And he told David that a few times. So that's where we have to be very, very careful and cautious that we don't step ahead of God, but we listen and then we obey exactly what he says to do. No more, no less. And, in the New Testament, this same principle, because let me back up. As we do that, and I wrote this down this morning when I shared this, as we obey the Lord in this way, when he says go or when he says pursue, there's different ways that this provision came. And that's another principle that's embedded in these passages, is the provision came in a supernatural way. How did it happen? Well, first of all, David positioned himself relationally so that he could ask in this manner, and then Yahweh responds and says, "Okay, I'm going to give you back everything that was stolen. There's going to be an absolute recovery of everything. You're not going to have to worry about the enemy. I'm going to annihilate them, and I'm going to take care of you because you've listened and you've obeyed my voice. So go back and read these passages. I encourage you to do it, where you've got different ways that this supernatural provision came, but it was because of the obedience of a man or a woman that's operating like David. And I apologize, my dog, you're probably hearing outside the door there, but nevertheless. So I'm gonna end with that, and I notice there's still someone along with me here that's for the ride, I think. No, maybe not. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. If you have not subscribed to the ministry, we would love for you to be a part. Simply go to passionateforhispurpose.com and fill out one of the opt-in forms. And what that does is that puts you on our email list. And also, I want to put in a plug here for our YouTube channel. As soon as I'm done with this, I'll upload this, and it will be available on our YouTube channel as well. And you can find that on every page of our website down at the bottom where our social media icons are. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.